iPhones have always been considered the top tier of all mobile phones. Ever since the release of the first iPhone, Apple still overtakes the industry. Even Mark Zuckerberg uses an iPhone. Annually, Apple releases a new series every September, and last year the iPhone 13 series were the best-selling smartphone. Now that September has just passed, the iPhone 14 series went on sale on the 16th of September. In this video, we're gonna take a look at the newly released iPhone 14. Hey, welcome to Tech Pulse, where we make sure you're up to date on all things tech. If you want to keep a pulse on the fast-changing world of tech, then you came to the right channel because we upload very frequently. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and feel free to comment any questions you may have down below. Enjoy! Okay, so first, let's talk about how big it is. The iPhone 14 Max is said to be a larger screen size option for the iPhone 14. The screen size will match that of the iPhone 14 Pro Max, but it won't have any of the Pro features. This is for those who wished they could afford the Pro version's larger screen but just couldn't justify the additional $300 to $400 price tag. As we saw with the iPhone 13 mini, Apple does a decent job at optimizing the phone even if the technology isn't cutting edge, so don't let the iPhone 14's less impressive specs put you off. In its place, the current lineup would be joined by the iPhone 14, iPhone 14 Pro, iPhone 14 Max, and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Mac Rumors claims that the actual screen size of the iPhone 14 Max and iPhone 14 Pro Max will be 6.7 inches, while that of the iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Pro will be 6.1 inches. If we're gonna talk about the Mini, now is as good a moment as any to mention that the Mini model will no longer be produced. Due to poor sales of the previous Mini versions, Apple has decided not to include a Mini model in the iPhone 14 series. Despite being the finest value iPhones that Apple offered, the iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 13 mini saw very low sales, and Apple has now chosen to retire the line. When the iPhone X came out, the notch was a huge deal, but in the 3 generations since then, there have been almost no other significant design changes. The size of the notch has shrunk slightly, but otherwise, nothing much has changed. Camera placement on Android devices has been all over the map, from pop-up and selfie cameras to rotating cameras, screen cutouts, and even under-display placement. While it's true that Apple doesn't typically experiment with crazy concepts, we still expected to see advancements in the product's design by this point. Since it is speculated that Apple would adopt a hole-punch camera design in 2022, that could be the year we finally get to see it. So how will Apple proceed to remove the notch without compromising the functionality of Face ID? Well, apparently, Apple is purportedly working on a new version of Face ID where the sensors are hidden beneath the display. Since, let's be honest, the under-display ones give an irredeemable drop in camera quality and the technology just isn't developed, a cutout in the screen is still necessary for the camera. If you're hoping that Apple's return to Touch ID with under-display fingerprint sensors will make a splash in the mainstream smartphone market, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed by the iPhone 14 series. Now, the rear of the iPhone 14 has been updated too. The latest S22 reports show that instead of a traditional raised camera bump, Samsung is opting for a lens inserted straight into the frame. It's been said that Apple is planning something similar, albeit they're likely to model it after the iPhone 4 rather than Samsung. It's unlikely that Apple would make the iPhone thicker solely to eliminate the camera. Instead, they'll probably just add lenses directly to the back of the phone to make the camera stick out less. Before we delve into the inner workings, let's discuss the body. You should expect to see titanium on the upcoming iPhone 14, at least on the Pro variant. When it came to construction quality, Apple was already light years ahead of the competition because its devices were made out of stainless steel while competitors were still using aluminum. A significant upgrade to titanium casing is being considered, and while this will significantly boost durability, it will also raise costs. So how well can titanium dissipate heat? Well, it doesn't. The titanium casing serves no other purpose than to provide the Pro models with the greater protection and decreased weight they so sorely require. As a means of heat dissipation, Apple is rumored to be working on a prototype of a vapor cooling chamber a feature previously seen only in smartphones designed for gamers and the most expensive premium models. Although Apple does use high-end chipsets, the company has never had to deal with overheating or thermal throttling, and the Bionic chipset series has the best optimization in the industry. The processing power of the A16 Bionic chipset is expected to increase dramatically this year with the introduction of the vapor chamber cooling technology. In terms of raw processing power, Apple has always been ahead of the competition, but the company has trailed behind in terms of how quickly new apps can be launched and loaded. We may see Apple catch up to Android in this regard this year. With the design and body done, it's time to proceed into the inner workings. The A16 Bionic processor will power the iPhone 14. There are said to be two possibilities for the Bionic processor, and both have credible sources. To begin with, the A16 Bionic uses a chip fabrication technique that requires only 4 nanometers in size. Perhaps you're thinking, well, of course that's gonna happen, given that's what every manufacturer has been working toward. DigiTimes reported this, and it quickly became the consensus prediction. The second, and more plausible, the scenario is that Apple will continue to use 5 nanometer chips for the third year in a row. It was reported by TSMC themselves. The article claims that the new chip will be a 5 nanometer one, but its construction process will be more streamlined. While the report does claim some performance improvements, it's unlikely that we'll see those improvements in the iPhone's performance given that Apple already uses them. This suggests that the A16 may not be as powerful as we thought. Finally, we reach one of the iPhone's most crucial components, the battery. TSMC claims that its new processor is 10% more powerful than the iPhone 13 chip it replaces. This may not seem like a huge deal, but when you consider that Apple has already blown away the battery life of pretty much every other brand, a 10% increase in battery life means that you'll never have to worry about battery again, and to be honest, Apple has already achieved this with the A15 Bionic chip. Mac Rumors claims that Apple has been developing a new camera system. The iPhone 14 could have a periscope lens that provides higher optical zoom in 2022 or 2023, and we anticipate enhancements to the ultra-wide lens at that time. Since Apple is now having issues with patents that are owned by Samsung, the debut of the periscope lens is reportedly set for 2023. However, there are rumors that Apple will either pay a little licensing charge or come up with a creative workaround. It's too soon to tell what will happen. Since Androids already provide far greater viewing angles, an upgrade to the ultra-wide is also desperately needed, despite the fact that they struggle in the video. Well, that's it for today. What are your thoughts on the latest iPhone 14 series? Would you purchase it? Share it with us in the comments section below. If you enjoy videos like these, check out our other videos. And if you like them, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next video. Bye.